You've got big projects to tackle, but your day gets swallowed up by repetitive tasks and constant inquiries. It's hard to make progress when you're stuck putting out fires. That's where Element 451's AI assistants come in. Acting like an extra set of hands, you get your time back for the high-impact projects. Ready to reclaim your time? Visit element451.com/AI team to learn more.
Welcome back to the Hidden Gem podcast. I'm your host, Maya Demishkevich, and today we are diving into an important topic for community colleges everywhere: how to bring adult learners back to school. Joining me is John McGreal, Dean of Enrollment Services at Waukesha County Technical College, and we will be discussing some research they've conducted to do just that. Because we know adults are juggling jobs, maybe even two, managing a household, have other obligations, and they're still thinking about going back to school. So, what would convince them to take that leap? WCTC wanted to find out, and the insights they uncovered have reshaped how they attract and enroll adult students, leading to a 7% increase in enrollment. So, stay with us to find out. Welcome to The Hidden Gem, your go-to podcast that shines a spotlight on the strategic role of marketing and communications in shaping the future of community colleges. I'm your host, Maya Demishkevich, CMO at Carroll Community College. Every week, I sit down with community college leaders and industry experts to unpack strategies that work. We'll discuss practical insights and success stories to help you elevate your institution's profile and achieve your strategic goals. Tune in to amplify your community college's success, one conversation at a time. The Hidden Gem is part of the Enrollify Network, a robust collection of podcasts designed to help higher education professionals like you grow. Explore our other shows at enrollify.org or check out some of my personal favorites linked in the show notes below. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the leading AI-powered all-in-one student engagement platform helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com. And let's get started. Welcome, John.
Thanks so much, Maya.
I have to say, your college's name is probably one of my favorites to pronounce. Waukesha. It's very cool. And for those who have been following the show, you have heard this name before. Back in episode 16, I interviewed Kalen Gaines, and he talked about in-person registration events. So you guys are doing amazing work at your institution. If you haven't listened to that episode, you should go back and check it out. But let's jump right in and talk about the research you've conducted. So I know you mentioned that your college received a grant and you decided to conduct a marketing research aimed at improving adult student enrollment. Can you tell us a little bit about what specific gaps or challenges you have identified that you decided to use the funds to conduct this research?
Yeah, so this goes all the way back to when I started at WCTC. When I started doing my first conversation, stepping into this role to meet with the deans and associate deans across campus, I kept hearing, especially from our School of Business, hey, we're not seeing the adult learner population that we have in the past. Immediately, that kind of got onto a list of mine, right? If we're seeing this large segment of our population no longer choosing to enroll, no longer choosing to attend the institution, we have to fix that, right? We have to figure out kind of what's going on and address it. And so as I started to dive into the data that we did have access to, it was pretty evident that they were starting to just fade away. They were choosing not to consume for whatever reason. I had a suspicion that it was because we were in a pretty unique environment at that point in time, right? We had low unemployment, but high inflation. So people were maybe feeling fine that they had a job, but not wanting to go back and pursue because maybe they were working two of those jobs in the area to try and make ends meet, right? So the timing wasn't working out. And we also had a bit of a of a gap in understanding exactly why our adult population was looking for us in the first place. We had theories about what we thought our brand identity was, but wanted to get some concrete data behind exactly what our brand identity is as an institution. We knew what we wanted to say as well that we were, but wanted to truly understand what our market was telling us who we were, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. And then you decided to use the funds to conduct this research. What did you do? Walk us through. Was it a survey? Was it focus groups? And how did it help you uncover some of the insights?
We took a dual approach. Not only did we want to do prospective student needs research, but we also wanted to do live focus groups on campus, right? We wanted to understand what barriers existed for this population to enroll, what was on their mind, what was their mindset like. But we also wanted to understand categorically who we were to our students and what the best pieces of WCTC were in order to drive it forward. So we worked with a partner I would absolutely recommend to anybody. They did a fantastic job and really kind of pitched us on doing both. Because at first we thought we were just going to do one or the other based off of the funds available. And luckily we were able to get both done, which was fantastic. So we launched a survey to a list of names that we purchased through a company that allowed us to basically access credit card data, and that allows us to really segment down to the adult population. So we targeted 25 to 45-year-olds who lived within a 40-mile radius of the district, which is more or less our search parameters. We have to stay within our district, as well as pulling some of our own internal data. And we launched a survey that ended up going out to just under 18,000 people. And we received 550 quality responses back. That survey was out there for about 2 weeks of time in December of 2023, so just a little about 18 months or so ago, and we received a fairly good response back from that. At the same time, we did on-campus focus groups with our students who could really give us that insight as to what our big profiles were, what does WCTC mean to them, how has WCTC impacted their lives, maybe what was their motivations for enrolling, and a few things along those lines. In that, we not only did those live focus groups, but the company was actually piloting an artificial intelligence software for qualitative responses as well. So we not only did in-person live focus groups, we also had this AI component as well. And we had about 40 to 45 responses between those two methods. And then they used a qualitative assessment of it in order to bring back all that data to us. So they used grounded theory for any research nerds. It was the grounded theory that they used for understanding what key themes were coming out of the research.
I love when people do qualitative and quantitative at the same time, because you can gain enough information and then support it by qualitative data and some responses. Did you provide any incentive for people to fill out a survey? Because that was a great response rate.
I'll go to that in a second. I want to touch on what you said too, right? Like, quantitative data is great, but it gives you just a portion of the picture. Qualitative data is great because people love hearing quotes and things like that. The two of them together are exceedingly powerful. So if people take away nothing from this conversation, always pair quant and qual at the same time. We did provide an incentive to both the on-campus group as well as the survey. So I think for the survey, there was a random drawing of a gift card for, I think, $100, if I'm remembering correctly. And then for anyone who participated on campus, they received a gift card as well. I think it was like $25 or $30, something along those lines, through the vendor that we partnered with. And I know I've mentioned the vendor a few times. I have no issue calling them out. It was Carnegie. They did some great work with us, and they've been a huge sponsor in that space.
And then the focus groups you did you talk to your current students, or were those people outside of the college who have not used your services before?
It was students here on campus, because we again wanted to make sure that we are representing when we moved to the next phase of this, which was digital marketing, we wanted to make sure we were representing what our product truly was and what our students told us our product was. And the great thing was it lined up pretty good with who we feel we are, which is great. So we had a good understanding coming in, and this focus group data gave us a lot of confidence in saying that, as well as a few specific quotes that we've utilized over the course of the campaign.
What were maybe some of the most significant or surprising findings from this research, and how did it shift your understanding of how to engage those adult learners?
Probably the most significant finding that I've been saying for the last 18 months since we got this research back is when our adult students decide they want to apply and enroll, they want to go from the idea of applying to college to enrolling in as few as 4 weeks and in as most as 7 to 8 weeks. So the traditional mindset in higher education of a 16-week long semester is just not adequate for these students, right? Because they want to move from the idea to starting so quickly that we have to be ready to pivot. And that played into our favor a fair amount here at WCTC because we already have 8-week terms. So it allows us to be pretty responsive to that. And we're working on building out different processes here that can make us even more accessible to students in that fashion. But it really was in the data saying that students wanted to, when they decided they wanted to apply, they wanted to do that and complete all of their steps in about 2 to 3 weeks. And then from the point of application completion, they wanted to be starting and enrolled in classes in 2 to 3 weeks as well. So that time frame is really, really condensed, which means you have to be on their mind before they even know they want your education, right? Your institution, that they're even seeking college. So that when they do make the choice, it's almost instantaneous. Oh, I've decided I want to go back. I'm going to go to this institution. I'm going to go to WCTC.
Hey, it's Maya Demishkevich. Element 451 is hosting the AI Engage Summit on October 29th and 30th. This free virtual event features many of your favorite Enrollify creators and will explore AI's impact on student engagement, enrollment marketing, and institutional success. Learn how to tap into AI to automate personalized outreach, improve your emails, streamline content creation, and boost campaign performance. Plus, hear directly from current students on how AI is influencing their engagement and campus life. The AI Engage Summit is your guide to understanding and amplifying AI at your school. Registration is free. Visit element451.com to save your spot. Now back to the show. Right. Yeah. And then, I mean, I can relate. I'm the same way. I'm an adult. When I want something, I want it now. And prior to working in the community college sector, I used to work for online university. And that's what they do. They have 8-week courses, sometimes 6-week courses. So you can start at any time. So the challenge is once they want to start, you have to be able to have the courses that they can enroll in. And for many institutions, like community colleges, for example, it might be challenging because we are serving a smaller population. So having those frequent starts might not yield the enrollment that we are looking for. So I see that as a challenge for my institution, but it sounds like you guys are able to offer.
We are. We don't have a formal application that kicks off for the second term, but we have found some ways to make that happen, right? Students can start as a course taker while they're completing their application for the next semester, or a guest student, I should say, while they're completing their application for the next semester. And we're working on building out a process to start accepting applications for term 2 for both fall and spring. A few of the other findings was we found that this population was still very much utilizing, social media like Facebook to do some of their research. So we decided to, again, when we're moving into the digital phase, relying on some of that information. And then the other big piece that we noticed within the focus groups especially was understanding kind of the big why that students were choosing us overall, so that we could highlight that in our messaging, right? And attract the right the right student, the right fit student for our institution. Um, and that's a little trickier because, right, those reasons that students choose to enroll are pretty varied. We started to really see things like it was an opportunity for career advancement, or students wanted a second try, they want another attempt, they were trying to pivot in their life to something new, right? And seeing a lot of these different pieces. And we started to not only recognize that in these surveys, but then when we were even having organic conversations with our students on campus, starting to hear it as well. There's a student here who had been in broadcast journalism and came to the institution to pivot because he wanted to go into IT. And he had talked about how impactful this experience was because he was able to continue to work full time, come to school part time, and make that pivot and transition through the supportive nature and the ethic of care that the institution has. And so we started to really inject those sentiments into our marketing.
Yeah, so you started talking a little bit about how you have applied those findings to your marketing strategy and enrollment processes. Was there anything else that you did based on those findings?
We also decided that we needed to spin up some in-person experiences because, again, this is an older population that's a little bit more used to those in-person experiences. So you referenced Kaylin and the Admission Accomplished event. That was one of those things that we had kind of started and then have suddenly realized the vast importance of that event because of the need that the adult learner was expressing to us through some of this research, as well as through what our focus group data was saying, was just telling us that this group was craving something in person because that's what they were used to, that's what they expected. And we've also kind of taken this mindset a little bit, adjusting some internal operations for drop-ins so students can just pop on over, right, and start to develop some of those things that allow for that just-in-time service, really whenever the student is seeking it out.
What about marketing messages? Have you changed your campaigns? Have you adjusted how you spoke to them? Or maybe even in what channels? You did mention Facebook and digital. Was there anything else?
Yeah, within those campaigns, again, we worked with another partner to kind of test this stuff out, right? And lean on their expertise a little bit of seeing the data, and as well as working very closely with our marketing team. And I have to call out my counterpart over there, Sarah. She's fantastic, and her team, they pull off some amazing things, but it's always nice when you can increase capacity for a team like that. So we did work with this other partner as well. And that partner is MediaCross, and they were great at helping us kind of refine the message by channel. So we not only did like digital display targeting through Google and Performance Max campaigns, but we also did do meta advertising on Facebook and Instagram, and we did a little bit on LinkedIn, not a ton. But we really focused kind of on those areas, and those results were amazing. So we then took the same list that we had sent the survey to and used that to build the foundation of who we were targeting with these companies. So again, it's this whole cohesive thing, and we saw a ton of success with that. And the reason why I wanted to kind of do that holistically is I like to start with the problem and make sure that we are tailoring the solution all the way through and understanding it. So they were seeing some messaging already a little bit, perhaps a little more predisposed because of some of the earlier conversations. We then were able to see some pretty significant results through those campaigns, with students clicking through to our content at a fairly high rate.
Have you noticed any messages performing higher than others?
We definitely saw success with messages like "Don't wait," like make today the day, right? And some of those pieces, as well as talking about our value proposition in a very positive way. Start your career now with, I don't think we used the word affordable directly, but with an affordable education in essence. And we saw those messages resonate pretty significantly through those campaigns. from last fall to this fall, we have increased our headcount by 7% and our FTE by 6.8%. Year over year, which is huge. Those are home run numbers, and this is on top of a year previously that we had a substantial increase as well. Specifically within the age cohort that we were identifying, one of the things that we noticed was that there was a significant increase in our applications that came in the key 25 to 45 age range. We saw about a 7% shift of the overall applicant pool within those age ranges before launching the campaign and after launching the campaign. Once we launched the campaign, looking historically, we were able to see a 6 percentage point increase in those areas compared to or for the full application makeup compared to our under 25 population, which was great.
Any programs that adults are specifically looking for that you have a high demand?
Yeah, we saw a little bit within for adults. We saw a little bit pop within IT and artificial intelligence, and a few other areas kind of around there. And then we did see that increase in business, which, of course, going back to the start of this conversation, made our dean of business pretty happy. But we suspect that some of why AI and the IT programs got a little bit of a big boost is we've been talking a lot about AI as an institution as well. So not only were they seeing that messaging, but then they were getting served targeted ads based off of this research that kind of reinforced and doubled in on each other. So as with any strategy, right, it's never just one thing. It's a series of multiple things that kind of play into it. But we definitely saw a pretty marked difference between prior to the campaign launching and after for students applying and ultimately enrolling at the institution.
Mm-hmm. Anything you noticed in terms of trades, like trade programs?
Not offhand that I can remember. I'd have to really dig in a little bit further, but the business and the IT and AI programs are the ones that really popped and stood out. In fact, one of the associate deans, I was meeting with her and she was like, "So what happened on this date? Because after this date, all of a sudden we had all these inquiries and all this attention and all this enrollment come in." I was like, "That's when we launched your campaign." And she was like, "Oh, it really worked." So it was that moment of like a full circle hearing like, okay, these programs really worked. And this initiative was really having some success for us.
Well, it sounds like you went a full circle from looking at your target audience and returning back to them and targeting them with specific messages and advertisements, and they came back and enrolled, which is amazing. That's what we're all about.
Yep.
Any words of advice to other enrollment or marketing professionals at community colleges who are serving a similar audience, and how maybe they can replicate your success, or maybe some takeaways that could help them be more effective and attract more students?
If you have the opportunity to design a grant, like use it as a sandbox, like test a theory, test an idea, take that big swing that you've always wanted to, right? Like we all have these great ideas that come into our brain and we want to do them, but we don't always have the budget dollars, right? So one of the reasons why we've had some success is being able to leverage grant dollars to test out things and then decide, yep, we're going to bring that into the fold, or hey, that didn't work so well, we're just going to dump it in the trash and never talk about it again, except as a learning experience, right? The other thing I would say is really look to see how quick you can bring a student through the enrollment process. Velocity is a key thing, especially for this population. When they make the decision to apply, they want to do it right then and there. They want to start fairly quickly. They want to hear pretty quickly, right? We live in an Amazon and a Netflix world, right? Everything is curated, everything is personalized, and so and you can get everything at the second you want it, right? I joke that I think that I need something for my kids and it appears on the door by the time I get home, right? And that's kind of how it works. And we have to adapt and be responsive, right? We can't necessarily like get a student enrolled in classes tomorrow because we do have terms we have to worry about. But the more we can do to offer different entry points, the better. So I was fortunate to walk into a situation where we saw this and we already had 8-week terms, and so we could take advantage of that. But thinking through your processes or how you communicate, or maybe when you're launching campaigns, can help with that a little bit as well. So if you are in a 6-week or 16-week semester, maybe you're doing your big push to adult learners maybe in those 6 to 8 weeks before classes start. Right? Maybe that's the right time to be doing it. And you have to, of course, prepare your teams for, hey, this time period is going to be a little bit stressful because we're going to see a lot more of influx. But there might be different ways you can massage what you're doing to be able to go through that.
I have really enjoyed talking to you and learning about your experience with this particular project and attracting more adults. I'm sure many of our listeners would find it insightful, and maybe they can take something back to their institution. So, John, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Yep, my pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it valuable. Let's keep this conversation going on LinkedIn at Maya Demishkevich. I would love to hear your thoughts, questions, and suggestions for what you would like to see next on this podcast. Remember, by tuning in to The Hidden Gem, you're not just listening to a podcast, you are joining a movement of amplifying community colleges' success. Don't miss out. Subscribe to this podcast and notifications about our future episodes. Share it with your colleagues and college leaders to help make our colleges stand out. Together, let's make an impact. The Hidden Gem is part of the Enrollify podcast network. If you like this podcast, chances are you will like other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing by the month, and we've got a plethora of marketing, enrollment, and higher education technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional. Our shows help higher ed marketers and admissions professionals find their next big idea and feature selection of the industry's best as your host. Learn from Jamie Hunt, Jenny Fowler, Eddie Francis, Brian Gross, and so many other of your favorite leaders in higher ed. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the leading AI-powered all-in-one student engagement platform helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.